Why don't you go ahead and sit down? I know I've had you stand up for a little while. I'm asking Moses. I preached this message several times. Don't get offended. I didn't come up with it just for you. I'm sorry. But I preached this message several times because I believe God has given me this message to preach to people your age and your age group. And I believe that this generation, your generation, has a very specific purpose in history. Every generation has their purpose. There was the Abraham generation. There was the old folks that kicked this thing off. My grandpa that started all Pentecostal churches and did all this stuff. And there was generations that their purpose was to keep the doors open. And there was generations who were there to propagate and build up. But I believe that your generation has a very specific purpose tonight. I believe that you are a Moses generation. See, God used Moses to lead an entire nation out of bondage. Moses was the guy. He went in, and his people, the Hebrew people, were held as slaves by the Egyptians. And so Moses went in with God's power, and he led all of those Hebrews out of Egypt, out of slavery. And tonight, I believe that there are some teenagers, there are some students here tonight, that your purpose in life that you're searching for is to simply lead other people out of bondage. I believe that it is the role of this generation. There's never been a generation of apostolic young people who have had more put in them. We have conferences and camps and conventions, and we have special services like this, and we're putting information and we're putting things in you for a purpose because we want you to go out and be victorious. Those of you here that are here for the first time tonight, you don't know that your purpose is to go out and get more people to come in. It's called a revival. We just bring more people. It's a good thing. We like that. We get tired of looking at the same people all the time. It's good to have new people. You see, this generation, Moses, he wasn't a preacher. Did you know that? Moses wasn't a preacher. Now, being a preacher is the highest form of calling. It's a very big burden, but those of you sitting here tonight saying, well, I'm not a preacher. I'm not going to get up in my school and I'm not going to deliver a sermon. It doesn't matter. Moses wasn't a preacher. He was a leader. And Moses was called by God to lead his people out. Some of you are being called as leaders to walk into your school, walk into your family, and to reach people that are consumed with bondage and lead them out. Alcoholism, bring them out. Drug addiction, bring them out. Promiscuity, bring them out. I'm going to tell you today, I'll preach a whole lot better when y'all clap. We need some modern day Moseses. Moseses. That's what we need. We need some of you to stand up and be Moseses. Mosai. Mosu. Mose. I don't know how you say it. But you guys have to, your purpose is to stay, you understand what I'm saying? Your purpose is to help people. That's why we have this resurgence of this postmodernist community. Basically what that means is you guys like to reach out to other people. That's why MySpace is so popular and Facebook and everything. Some of you might be upstate in your Facebook status right now. I don't know. But that's why it's so popular, is because your generation has a sense of community. You see somebody that's hurting, you want to help them. You see somebody that's homeless, you wish there was something you could do for them. You see somebody that's hungry, you want to feed them. That's what you do. It's your calling, it's your purpose. Yes, you're a Moses generation. But if you're going to share the similarities of Moses and the good qualities of Moses, then you have to be prepared to deal with the challenges that Moses faced, the struggles that Moses had. Today, one of the biggest challenges facing you guys, your group, is the concept of identity. Who you are. Who are you? What are you going to do? Are you going to be an academic? Are you going to be an athlete? What are you going to do? Who are you going to be? And this concept of identity, it plagues us and it bothers us, and we go all over the place looking for it. Some of you tonight, it's sad to say, but you will, maybe you've learned this already, but if not, some of you here will find an alcohol container and you will lift that to your lips because you're searching for an identity, and you say, I can be the one who drinks the most in my school. That will be your identity, and it'll make you somebody. Some of you here tonight are experimenting with sex, and you're saying, if I can do these things, if I can get this reputation, if I can be this person, then that's my identity. And what's happening is we're seeing teenagers, we're seeing young people that are taking these identities and they're interchanging them. They're putting one on, and today I'm going to be a good student, but today I'm going to be the bad boy, and today I'm going to be this, and tomorrow I'm going to be this. And one day you wake up and you want to be a good son or a good daughter, and you want to help out, and then the next day you wake up and you have no respect for authority. It moves, it flows, it changes. Whatever group we talk to, that's who we become. Whoever we're next to, that's who we become. We've been taught to accept everything, no matter what. To accept every decision as valid. Every lifestyle choice as a good one. But there are some things that are just going to mess you up. You may find an identity as an alcoholic, but it will mess you up. You may find an identity as someone who is promiscuous, but it's going to mess you up.
Right.
It is an identity, but it's not an identity that you want.
That's right.
Moses was a Hebrew. It means he was Jewish. He was a Jewish guy. He was born with a very clear sense of identity. The Jewish culture was very rigid. They had certain rituals and rites. They had certain activities. They had certain ways of dressing, certain foods that they ate, certain songs that they sang. They had a way about them. And in Exodus chapter 2, verse 6, we read, I'm not real good with grammar, you just have to hang on. We read in Exodus chapter 2, verse 6 that Pharaoh's daughter, the king's daughter, when she saw this little boat floating down the river, she picked it up and she opened it up. And when she looked in the boat, she exclaimed, "It is one of the Hebrews' children." I can see it. Look at his face. Look at his features. I can tell. This is his nationality. This is his identity. This is who he is. Life goes on. We see that Moses, he has the miraculous upbringing of, he's rescued by the king's daughter, but his mother's allowed to raise him. And when he turns 3 years old, his mother has to bring him to the palace, and she brings him in there, and she hands him over. But I got to believe, Brother Rice, I got to believe that Mom snuck in every once in a while. I know my mom, I can't get rid of her. But I got to believe that Mom snuck in the palace once in a while. Moses grew up with his mother. He goes on. He becomes Pharaoh's son. The story goes on. He goes out one day trying to be a big shot, and he kills somebody. Lesson number 1, don't kill anybody. That's the first thing you should learn. Rule number 1, that should be on the church wall somewhere. Don't kill any people. And Moses goes out and he kills this guy, and he runs off to hide. And when he runs to this country to hide, he's sitting there by this well, and these ladies come up and they're trying to feed their sheep. They're trying to water their sheep. And while they're watering their sheep, there's a group of other shepherds, and they come in and they try to push them away. Real, chivalrous kind of guys. They're pushing them away. Get out of here. It's our turn. And Moses, he stands up and he says, "No, listen. Leave him alone. Let him get the water." He stands up for him, and he gets him the water for the sheep. And so these young ladies, they get home really quick that day. And the father asks them what happened. And check this out. In verse number 19, it says, and they looked at their father and they said, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds." Well, wait a second. I don't get it.